riding with the king.
You can only control what you can control.
End zone touchdown!
Is he the MVP or what?
Thing of beauty!
Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay.
His loyalty is somewhere in Hawaii with his fiancée. He's not thinking about the Green Bay Packers.
Hell yeah, Aaron Rodgers can stay home.
The fact that Aaron Rodgers might not play this year is, I can't fathom.
I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this week, and then I'm going to get back to working out and figure things out in a couple weeks.
Under my reign too, my palace you came. I bow down to your highness cause you know I'm the king.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Thank you for being with us. Hope you all had a fabulous weekend. My guy, Freddie Coleman, it has been way too long, my friend. So good to see you. Giving you a hug from a distance. Host of Freddie and Fitzsimmons on ESPN Radio. We're going to have some fun. And, of course, the one and only Monday Night Football's Louis Riddick. Gentlemen, guess where we're starting? The multi-million-dollar question. Are you sick of it yet? Will Aaron Rodgers report to Packers camp? But we do have a deadline because it goes down tomorrow. So maybe his IG will give you a clue, or maybe it'll just confuse you even more like it did me. So Rodgers and Davante Adams both posting this pic of Scottie Pippen and MJ from The Last Dance. Now, in the past, Rodgers has referenced the parallels between the toxic relationship between Jordan and his former GM, Jerry Krause, to his situation with his GM. We do know this, however. The reigning NFL MVP went through his normal offseason training regimen with Proactive Sports. While it remains unknown whether he will return to camp there, a representative from Proactive Sports Performance said Rodgers is working and he's ready for football. Freddie, you are up first.
He's ready for football, and I get the whole Last Dance trying to make that work, Molly and Lewis, but I will say this about Aaron Rodgers. Of course he's going to play, and here's why. He's owed $14.7 million if he plays this year, and he's on a 2-year contract after that where he's going to get $25 million per year. He may not like Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst, the president and general manager respectively, but he does like his teammates, and he loves the town of Green Bay, and he loves the Packer fans base. He's not going to be there on time tomorrow. I don't have any doubt about that, but Aaron Rodgers understands celebrity. He understands his brand. He knows when he comes in, there's going to be a lot of fanfare. There's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance, and that's exactly what he wants. It's all about Aaron Rodgers versus the Green Bay Packers, and he believes he's going to win this battle. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He's going to play one last year. This will be his last dance with the Green Bay Packers. And in the next season, before next season, he's going to force his way out of Green Bay. But he knows they're this close to a Super Bowl championship because they were that close last year and the year before. You're not going to just go away from that and leave your teammates just because things are not working well. The general manager and the president, two guys that he can't stand. So I firmly believe he comes back for 1 year, one last dance with the Green Bay Packers. But then after that, that's going to be it for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers staying together.
Lou, talk to me.
Yeah, it's next level trolling, Molly. It really is. I mean, they're real good at this, man. He's real good at this. You know, Tom Brady's good at. These guys put a lot of thought into these kind of things. And you would never associate Aaron with someone who isn't very calculated. And I think he is sending a message, although it can be interpreted different ways with that picture with him and Davante, you know, both at the same time putting on Instagram this Last Dance, you know, type of reference. But look, I'm with Freddie in this regard, all right, if we just completely boil it down. I don't think he shows up on time. I don't think there's really any benefit to him showing up on time right out of the gate after everything that's happened this offseason. I just don't see him giving them that kind of satisfaction to say, look, I put you guys through all this offseason. I really made it known through, you know, secondhand sources that I was that disappointed, and then I'm just going to show up on time. I don't care how much he loves his teammates and loves Green Bay and wants to play football. I think he's also a intensely principled person in his own right in terms of he believes what his gripes are very, very, very legitimate and personal to him, and he has a point to prove to this organization. Now, when it gets to the regular season and when it gets to the amount of money that he can lose and when it gets to the fact that, you know, when you're in your mid-30s, late 30s, that every year becomes even more and more critical because you don't know how many more you have left. I think that's something that Aaron, without a doubt, is very aware of, and I'm sure he doesn't want to sit out a year and take it to the nuclear option, so to speak, of retiring and holding out all year long, although I wouldn't put it past him. I think he does play maybe in 2021 for the Packers and force his way out next year. But look, he is going to make this uncomfortable for them because this has become intensely, intensely personal. And I think all of us can relate to that in some form or fashion. That once things get personal, you don't care what conventional wisdom says. When you have a point to prove, you're going to prove it. And this guy's trying to prove it right now.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to figure out what point he's trying to prove with that IG post, because clearly it is calculated, but you really can take it either way. So one last dance, one last year, or it's all over. Now we bring in the newest member of our ESPN family, Sam Acho, former NFL linebacker, VP of the Players Association. So good to have you, sir. Where are you on this? Do you think we're going to see him play in Green Bay this season? He would need to report to camp tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to report to camp, number one, nor will he play in Green Bay this season. Let's look at the subliminal messages that are being sent, right? This is a social media war. Last week, Stephen A. tweeted out that Aaron Rodgers has been dismissed. He's been disrespected, all these things. And you know who retweeted that tweet? Shailene Woodley. You know who Shailene Woodley is outside of a star of the Divergent and the Allegiant series? She's also Aaron Rodgers' fiance. She's the closest person to Aaron Rodgers. Just a few days ago, there was another tweet on social media after the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA championship. You know who tweeted out? Aaron Rodgers. What did he say? He named the GM of the Bucks by name and lauded his incredible moves. You know what else happened, like we talked about just now? This IG time story, right? I'm 30-something years old, so I'm in this whole millennial, Twitter, social media. This is a social media war, and Aaron Rodgers understands he has no options monetarily, so he's going to try and put as much pressure as possible on the Green Bay Packers. Will he show up to camp? No, he will not. Will he play for Green Bay this season? The only way he will play, the only way Aaron Rodgers will play for Green Bay this season is if they give him the keys to that roster, if they give him decision-making ability on who's on the team, and also if they give him the ability to call his own plays. Every other superstar quarterback, the Tom Brady's of the world, the Peyton Manning's of the world, the Drew Breeses of the world, all of them got the keys. Y'all know that song, I got the keys, keys, keys. They have the keys. They can decide whatever they want to do. They're calling their own plays. They're deciding who's on the roster. You don't think that Aaron Rodgers is hanging out with Tom Brady and Tom's like, yeah, man, I chose my own players. I choose my own plays. I figured it out. Aaron Rodgers does not have that respect. They have not given him the keys. And unless he gets those keys, he will not play in Green Bay this season. Point blank, period.
He's going to play in the NFL because here's the deal. He does have the keys to the kingdom when it comes to Matt LaFleur, because Matt LaFleur gives him carte blanche to change plays, the line of scrimmage, and do whatever he wants. Sam, I hear you from the standpoint of personnel. It's the O-line by Bill Parcells that he wants the groceries if he's going to cook in the kitchen. That's never going to work in Green Bay. They didn't let Brett Favre have the keys to the kingdom. They didn't let Bart Starr have the keys to the kingdom. They're not going to let that happen with Aaron Rodgers. But in terms of him, whatever his gripes are, and Sam, you said it, and Lewis, you said it, whatever it is, we should all have a gripe with our job. We went to the NFC Championship game in back-to-back years. We should all be that dissatisfied with our job being the quarterback of a football team. We're not talking about Aaron Rodgers playing for a 6-10 team that is disintegrated around him. We're talking about a guy that last year, if he made a couple of plays in the second half and didn't throw a couple of interceptions, we were talking about the Green Bay Packers, not in the NFC Championship game, but in the Super Bowl. So whatever gripe he has with Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst, the president, general manager, respectively, I understand that. But let's get rid of this misnomer that he does not have power of terms of having the kind of power that a quarterback is looking for when it comes to having his own plays and everything like that. He has that power in Green Bay, but he's never going to get NBA player power. The NFL is never going to allow anybody to have that kind of power. You can have a say. You may believe you have a say, but you're never going to get that kind of stroke that NBA players have. That's what Aaron Rodgers wants. He wants what Kevin Durant has. He wants what LeBron James has. But NFL owners from that old boy network, that old boy Aaron Rodgers is not going to get that kind of power. He's got to take what he can get because if he thinks he's going to get it somewhere else, that's not going to be likely no matter when he pushes himself out of Green Bay.
Right, but check this out. So you say that Aaron Rodgers has the keys. You say that Aaron Rodgers has all the control. But if he has all the control of the roster and if he has all the control of the plays, then what is there to gripe about, number one? So if that's the case, if he has all the control of the plays that he calls, what is he griping about? If he has all the control of the roster, then what is he upset about, right? So
what is he upset about then?
What is he upset about? Point number two, because he doesn't have control. He doesn't have control, right? Drew Brees. Sam, he does have a little. I played against New Orleans, and I played against New Orleans, and I trained with guys who played in New Orleans with Drew Brees. So they said no. Drew Brees literally gets 2 plays. he gets 2 plays, and then out of those 2 plays, he gets to pick what he wants to call. It's not that way in Green Bay. Matt LaFleur has a system that he's trying to build, and I would say it's been successful, right?
Exactly.
13-3 the last 2 years. NFC Championship the last 2 years. The roster around Green Bay is not disintegrating by any means. If anything, they're building up that roster. Let's not forget, the week before, we're talking about the NFC Championship game, who had 3 interceptions against Tom Brady? It was the Green Bay Packers defense, right? Who had an opportunity with 2 minutes and 12 seconds left at the 8-yard line at 3rd and 8 to run into the end zone and go take the lead? It was Aaron Rodgers. And yes, we talk about the field goal that was kicked and the bad decision, but Aaron Rodgers had an opportunity. The Green Bay Packers had an opportunity. Their roster's not disintegrating. Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Kevin King, Zaire Alexander on the defense. Offensively, you got one of the best wide receivers in the game and some beasts at running back. You have the best left tackle. The roster is there. The team is there. The one thing that Aaron Rodgers does not have is control of the roster, like Tom Brady, like Drew Brees, and like Peyton Manning.
Let me get in here 1 second. Lou, I want you to be able to respond to the guys, but I also wanted to get to this question too. Would you blow the team up at this point? If you're looking ahead would you blow it up? Knowing that you're going to lose them after a year?
No, I wouldn't blow it up. No, I would not do that. Look, look from a team building standpoint, look, I think you got to look at this objectively. All right, look, they have one of the best. They've had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. They have one of the best running backs, really one of the best 1-2 punches at running back. They've had one of the best 1-2 punches, and they will have one of the best, running back rooms in the NFL going forward. They've had a number 1 wide receiver. They've had a very good, productive tight end. On the defensive side, they have really they've tried to add some pieces at the key positions, at pass rusher, at corner in particular. They need help at linebacker. They need help at the other corner position, and continue to build out the safety position, although they have some good playmakers there too. So I wouldn't blow this roster up. This isn't a matter of, does the roster, does it have cracks in its foundation and it's not good enough? No, that's not the issue here. And even with Aaron, and having talked to him last year for Monday Night Football, see the relationship and how it's grown between him and Matt LaFleur, and how much better it made Aaron just this past year as him and Matt became much more intertwined and interconnected as far as the play calling and what would take this team to another level and take Aaron's game to another level. No one can argue that they are good for each other. So, and I think he understands that. He's admitted that. He has no problem with the coaching staff. He has no problem with his teammates. He has no problem with the city. Look, obviously, in the NFC Championship game, would he probably have liked for him to have more control in that game and put it on him? Sure, of course. I mean, I think every quarterback of his DNA would have liked to have been able to decide that outcome more so than he was able to. But this is what it comes down to. And I think Aaron has made this very, very clear, and people who have either worked for Green Bay or who know Aaron or who know Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst know this too. He does not like them, the front office, and how they have treated people in the past, how they have treated necessarily him as far as maybe his input into the building of this football team, certain pieces here and there that he feels as though would help put them over the top. And it seems like he feels as though they don't give him the time of day that other teams give their quarterbacks. And look, when it gets personal like this, it's over. It's just over for him. And when you have as much money as he has in the bank, your mindset changes. It's not the same as the rest of us sitting here going, oh, I'd love to be in Green Bay. I mean, they have a great roster. Who would not want to play for one of the most storied franchises in the NFL? Aaron has a lot of money. He's done a lot of stuff. He can take these hardline stances now. He's in a much different position than many, 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 many other players. He can see this through to the end if he wants to. That's why it would not surprise me if he takes the nuclear option and doesn't play. It wouldn't surprise me one single bit.
All right, last thoughts here. Sam and then Freddie.
I wouldn't be surprised either. So just to that point, right? I love the point that Lewis just made about Aaron Rodgers is in a different stratosphere than everyone else. Even last year when there was conversations, right? I'm the vice president of the NFL Players Association. We were negotiating a collective bargaining agreement. There were conversations of a 17th game. What does an extra game mean? For many players, that's an extra check. A lot of players would be happy about that. 50 or 60% of players are making minimum salaries. An extra check, that's an extra $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. Aaron Rodgers would get an extra million or so. He doesn't want it. He doesn't need it. He's made enough money. So this is about him getting the control that he wants, that he does not have, that he probably will not get, because the Green Bay Packers, to their credit, they've been 13-3 the last 2 years. They've been in the NFC Championship the last 2 years. They're doing something right. Matt LaFleur is doing something right. They need Aaron Rodgers there, but they're not going to get him.
To bring some memory to everybody's memory on this one, he was the MVP last year. We're not talking about a guy in decline. We're not talking about an organization in decline. Lewis and Sam, I hear you guys. When it gets really personal, what did our man Nino Brown say? Business be never personal. This is the other side of that when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. But if he's looking for control to go somewhere else, then he's going to have that control. In our National Football League, it is not about to happen. A team will be glad to bring him in, but whatever control he's looking for, he is not going to find in Green Bay, and he's not going to find it anywhere else in the NFL.
Yeah, not only did he have a career year, Devontae Adams did as well, 18 touchdowns. Louis Riddick, thank you kindly, sir. We will talk to you later. We'll keep rolling here, guys. Okay. To Tokyo we go. So a tour is over, ending Sunday when France closed the game on a 16-2 run to beat the Americans 83-76 in the Tokyo Games. Evan Fournier's three-pointer off a broken play with just under a minute left
This is the first time we played together, so I feel like this is just something that we do a lot, and we'll accomplish this too, just like we've accomplished everything before. But we're smart players, great character, and we'll figure it out these next two.
All right, so after the game, Francis Fournier said this: they're better individually, but they can be beaten as a team. Shady. Acho, who's most to blame for the Team USA loss?
Well, hands down, it's got to be France, because France at this point is just better. Let's not forget, in the 2019 FIBA World Championship, who beat the U.S.? France. So who's got 5 NBA players on their roster? France. Who's got guys who are big and physical? France. France right now at this point is better. And Rudy Gobert said it best at the end of the game as well. He said, we're not surprised. We're not surprised. This is step one, but we're not going to be satisfied until we have that thing hanging around our neck, which is the gold medal. So France is at this point better than the United States at this game. It's a different game. This isn't the NBA. There are 10-minute quarters. Fouls are called differently. Even the way the game is played is called differently, right? You only have 5 fouls, not 6. You can move the ball off the rim, even though it would be goaltending in the NBA. This is a different game. And France at this point, they're like the bad guys. I love Fournier's response. He says they're better individually, but we are better as a team. And I love that mindset that France has. So we should not be surprised at this point. We're sitting here saying, how did we lose? How did we lose? The last 8 games that the United States has played with NBA players, we're 3-5. So let's stop being surprised. France at this point is the better team, and they've got their eyes on the gold.
It's a fair point when it comes to France, Sam, but to me, this loss on Greg Popovich more than France, because we're not having this conversation if the United States played any kind of defense and blocked out guys on the boards. I mean, for crying out loud, it looked like a layup line, because they weren't blocking out Rudy Gobert and also Fournier, who's getting to the rim, and then Evan Fournier was knocking down shots in the second half. He hasn't played that well in the NBA, much less in the international competition. But if you're Greg Popovich, he's trying to be the San Antonio Spurs of international basketball, and that is flat out not going to work. It is a fair point when you mention the last eight games involving international competition. They're 3-5, and that's all on the watch of Greg Popovich since he was named coach of the USA national teams in 2017. But when you have a bunch of dudes on your basketball team named Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Chris Middleton, that it's all about making adjustments as a coach. You can say you can put on the players, you got to be better defensively, but it's on you, the coach, to put together a better game plan. How you allow Rudy Gobert to just dominate you on the inside and Draymond Green, who know how to defend him? To me, this is all on Greg Popovich. And let's be fair. If the United States had won this game, we're not having this conversation. There's no doubt about that. But because people are so stunned, because everybody else has caught up to the United States. And this wasn't just a yesterday thing. Remember, this has gone back to 2004, where the United States team won the bronze medal. 2008, Spain gave them all they could in a gold medal game before the late Kobe Bryant hit great shots down the stretch. So, yeah, it's gotten to the point now that people should not be stunned when the United States loses. But it's the way they're going about it, especially yesterday, should bother anybody. And to me, That's more on Greg Popovich than what France was doing. That's not to slight France. But if you're Greg Popovich, you can't try to out-NBA people or one-on-one people in international basketball. The referees aren't going to allow you to do it, and better coach teams that have been together aren't going to allow you to do that as well. To me, Greg Popovich is the most to blame for this loss because he did not make the right kind of adjustments, unlike the French coach who made those adjustments and made that work for France yesterday.
So Freddie, last I checked, maybe I'm wrong on this, right? My time might be off, but the last I checked, Greg Popovich is not out there shooting buckets. Greg Popovich is not out there playing defense. Greg Popovich is not out there trying to make passes and make hustle plays. Kevin Durant is, Zach LaVine is, Chris Middleton. These guys, obviously Chris Middleton didn't play in the second half. So he's not out there. Greg Popovich is not out there. Greg Popovich didn't have an opportunity to go take the lead with a wide open three-pointer, as you saw Kevin Durant did in the fourth quarter with less than a minute left. Greg Popovich wasn't in the corner with a wide open three-pointer, as you saw Jrue Holiday miss with less than a minute left. Greg Popovich cannot coach hustle. You got to have guys who can hustle, guys who can get after it. And at this point, you're not seeing the United States team really believe that they want it more than other teams. France wanted it more. Look at the hustle plays by Luau Cabaret. Look at the hustle plays by Evan Fournier. Look at the hustle plays by everybody on that France roster, including Rudy Gobert. It's a different kind of game that we're watching. It's not the NBA. It's not iso ball. It's not small ball. You got some big, bad dudes on that France team, and they are dudes.
All right, tell me this, guys. Is Team USA winning gold, Freddie?
They're the most talented team still left, so they should win the gold, and I believe they're going to win the gold because I go back to what Jrue Holiday said, that we're intelligent guys, we're going to figure this out, which means that when I heard that was his way of saying that we're taking this out of Greg Popovich's hands, because if we don't trust that he can lead us the right way, then it's going to have to be on us. And whatever friction that could potentially be there, you got enough intelligent guys on that basketball team that'll say, we got to go out there and win it for us, because maybe we can't trust that guy to put us in the right position to make the kind of plays that we need to make. I still think they win gold, but it's going to be the players doing it, not the players and Greg Popovich.
Sam?
Yeah, I don't see the U.S. winning gold. I see France winning gold, and here's why. I love what Jrue Holiday said. He said, we're smart players. We work hard. We're physical. But you know what he didn't say? He didn't say we're the best players. He didn't say we're the most talented players. You know who's not there? LeBron James, not there. Steph Curry, not there. James Harden, not there. So, yes, they're going to work hard. Yes, they're going to be intelligent and be smart. But the best players are not actually there. Some of the best players, like Luka Doncic, are putting 47 up for Slovenia. That's what I'm saying. So the game has changed, and I think that France is the team to beat based on what they did 2 years ago and also last night.
What French premier paid you off to be a personal basketball representative for the French basketball team, Sam Macho? That's why I want to know, because it seems like all of a sudden you're changing allegiances. Are you a real American, Sam Macho? What's wrong with you?
Just watch the game. All I do is watch the game. I just watch the game. I just watch the game. I put the film on, right? I got to watch the film. And so people would love to hear me say the U.S. is going to win. It's going to be easy. Sure. We've been saying that for 2 years. The U.S. is 3-5. I got to stop saying that. Let's start being real. Let's start watching the film, watching the games, and making adjustments.
Fournier led all scorers with 28 points. Team USA takes on Iran on Wednesday. Still to come, gentlemen, on First Take, the NFL's vaccine policy. Might it be a divide in the locker room? We'll find out why Acho says absolutely. Plus, speaking of a divide, Deshaun Watson reported about that situation, and will his presence divide that locker room? Stay tuned. To receive a vaccine for COVID-19, Rick Dennison is out as a Minnesota Vikings assistant coach, sources told ESPN on Friday. Dennison had served as the Vikings offensive line/run coach, game coordinator the past 2 seasons. Now, another coach in the league, New England Patriots co-offensive line coach Cole Popovich, also won't be with his team in 2021 in a decision related to the COVID-19 vaccine and NFL guidelines. League sources confirmed that to ESPN. The vaccine is required for all Tier 1 staff, including coaches, front office executives, equipment managers, and scouts. Players not required to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, but will face strict protocols during training camp and throughout the season that vaccinated players will be able to forego. So here's former tight end Ben Watson on the vaccine.
If a player does not want to get vaccinated, we will stand behind him 100%. Look, if an unvaccinated player causes any sort of outbreak, look, it should be the same as a vaccinated player. the reason why we are pitting teams club against club and talking about expenses is to force vaccinations. And so the NFLPA, again, is going to support and protect players. But we're also going to say, look, the science is there. We know that vaccinations have reduced infection rates. And so we feel good about this, but we still want you to make the choice for yourself.
Ben Watson, Vice President of the NFLPA as well. So is Sam Wacho. Look who's here right now. Two-time Super Bowl champ with the Bucs and the Colts. That would be the one and only Booger McFarland. Boog, I'll get to you in a second. Acho, you're up first. Do you think this will divide the locker room, the vaccine and all that comes with it?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that the NFL's quote-unquote, I'll put it in quotes and I'll explain why in a second, new mandates will divide the locker room because in players' minds, it's playing with their money. I'm thinking, man, if I don't get this vaccine, I might lose out on some checks. But now here's the reality of everything. Last year, and I'm a vice president of the NFL Players Association as well. I'm on the executive committee. Last year, there was a 2-year agreement put in place in regards to COVID. And so that's what we saw last year. And last year, the percentage of players getting COVID was, I think, right under 2%. Maybe it was 0.8% if I'm not mistaken. Also, if you don't want to get the vaccine this year as a player, you can do what you did last year. You can wear your mask. You can social distance. You can wear contact tracers. You can have less than 15 guys in a workout. You can wear your mask on the sideline, in the facility, on the field. So I believe that players should have a choice. But the thing is, it's almost, people call it a false choice. You think I either get the vaccine or I don't play. That's not the reality. The reality for NFL players, which right now, about 75% of NFL players are vaccinated. The reality is if you don't get the vaccine, if you make that choice to not get the vaccine, all you're choosing is to wear your mask. You're choosing to social distance and physical distance. You're choosing to wear contact tracers. You're choosing to get tested every day or every other day. So it's the exact same thing we saw last year when there was no vaccine and there was right around a 0.8 positivity rate. And last but not least, we talk about these outbreaks between unvaccinated versus vaccinated players. Let's not forget the outbreak that happened last year in Tennessee. It wasn't caused by a player. It was caused by coaches who weren't following those protocols. And this year, coaches are required. They're required, if you're going to be a tier 1 staff, which is a coach, a dietitian, a strength staff, you're required to get the vaccine. And so I believe players should have that option, that choice to be able to decide. But you're not deciding on playing versus not playing. You're just deciding you're going to wear your mask socially and physical distance and also wear your contact tracers and get tested. That's all you're choosing.
Wow, there's so much to unpack here. I think the number one thing to say is we first need to recognize that the NFL is a private entity ran by 31 owners plus what they do up in Green Bay. Okay, so now once we realize that, those ownerships and those clubs can decide how they want to run their organization. And aside from the occasional pushback from the NFLPA, the NFL pretty much does what it wants. Okay. I think the time to tackle this issue with the vaccine and how we deal with it going forward would have been last year. Yes, there was a two-year agreement put in place, Acho. But at some point, the testing and the vaccination method should have been broached and should have been talked about. And to my knowledge, I don't know if it was, but it doesn't sound like a lot of NFL players are happy that either you A, get vaccinated, or B, you're going to have to go through hell again, which is to fly on different planes and work out outside. I mean, there's a situation in Tampa where guys who are not vaccinated, you're not even showering with everyone else. So they're going to make your life a living hell. Again, you have the choice, just as you said, Archer, you have the choice to do and mask and social distances, but they're going to make your life hell compared to your teammates and what else is going on. Now, is it going to break up the locker room? Every locker room is going to be different. Every teammate is going to react. We saw DeAndre Hopkins, his post about, he had to decide about his career whether or not to get vaccinated. I think what you have to do as an organization and what the league has to do, and hopefully the PA has done, is talk to our players and say, hey, guys, yes, you can decide what you want to do when it comes to the vaccine. But this vaccine is here to help us. This vaccine is here to make sure that if and when you do get COVID, guess what? It's not catastrophic as we've seen in other situations. And I think the more players will understand that, it's basically insurance. Think about it this way. This vaccine is basically insurance to the best that you can, that if you get it, the likelihood of you not dying from it goes up astronomically. So explain to our players that this is for your benefit. This is something that we need to do. This is something that it's going to help you. I just think that the ball was dropped a long time ago when the negotiation was had between the NFL and the NFLPA about how we're going to handle COVID, how we're going to handle the vaccine, how we're going to come out of this pandemic, because it doesn't sound like the NFLPA and its players are on the same page. Because again, the NFL, this private company, is basically saying, hey, get the vaccine or we're going to make your life living hell, and you really can't do anything but choose one of those two choices.
Let's get to the crux of this, guys. You guys know this from playing in the NFL. The NFL owners will do everything they can to put this on the players, at the players' feet, because they made that decision last week saying, hey, guys, if you're not vaccinated and all of a sudden an outbreak happens and then you cost yourself a game check and then the other team's going to get a game check because with a forfeit, we don't want to do that. But if you guys don't want to get vaccinated, that potential is going to be there. They did everything possible as a private entity, Booger, to your point, to make sure that they were not going to be responsible when it comes to the slippery slope. Now, I don't believe it's going to divide a locker room, but I do believe this. There are going to be some serious conversations. For example, if you're playing on the offensive line and you know the person next to you is unvaccinated and you're vaccinated, but you have somebody back home that could be in a health compromised situation, all of a sudden you got to gauge, okay, how much contact am I actually going to have with this person? And you need that contact on the offensive line or playing defense. So that's why I believe where those interesting conversations are going to happen, because we're social animals when it comes to human beings. And NFL is the biggest social animal situation compared to all sports, in my opinion. We have so many different players in the locker room coming from different backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. So if these conversations are going to happen, whatever information somebody's either receiving or interpreting, that's when the conversations get really interesting, because you're right, Booger, and you're right, Sam. It is a personal choice. No one should make anybody do what they don't want to do. If I had my way, I want all players to be vaccinated because I want all of them to be safe, and I want their families to be safe. And the more vaccinations that we have there that can do that, the better it's going to be to try to eradicate this pandemic or at least slow it down. But I also know I would never tell a grown man or a grown woman what to do. And if you make that personal choice, then you got to take everything that comes with it. And that's what the NFL did, saying, hey, players, we're not going to do this. We're going to let you guys take care of it. So they've taken an uncomfortable situation and made it even potentially more uncomfortable, depending on the locker room, depending on the personnel, and depending on personal beliefs. So I don't believe it's going to divide a locker room, but there's going to be a lot of interesting conversations depending on what kind of team you have or what kind of beliefs are going to be there, no matter what kind of team is going to be in this situation.
Sam, let me ask you this, and speak for yourself, Freddie, because I'm an antisocial animal. I just want to ask you this, being a part of the NFLPA. Were there ever talks potentially of the NFL mandating it to players? Was that even on the table?
Yeah, there were definitely talks. Here's the deal. If the NFL could mandate it to players, if the NFL could mandate that players get vaccinated, they would. But at this point, they don't have that opportunity or that option. They mandated that their coaches get vaccinated. They mandated that the staff get vaccinated. Anyone who works on an NFL team, if you want to be back in the building, you work for that team, you got to get vaccinated. But the players, they can't mandate that. So that's why you're seeing it's the same thing with Aaron Rodgers, this public pressure to try and put pressure on players. And so, yes, you can't tell a grown man what to do. And yes, the statistics show that, yeah, vaccines work. So, like, let's let that be known. Vaccines work. But also, the players should have a choice. You talk about going through hell last year. Well, you went through hell last year. You went through a tough time putting on masks as a player, not talking about outside of the locker room. Simply inside the locker room, wearing your mask, social distancing. You did that last year. I just want the players to understand that if you choose not to get the vaccine, you'll be choosing to do that again.
But the issue that I have, Acho, is why are the players complaining? We've seen Matthew Judon. We saw DeAndre Hopkins. If the players already know this, then why are they going to social media to complain about the choices that they had last year? It seems like they got the same ones this year. Why are they complaining then?
Well, Booger, you're right. Players don't know that. And so that's the great job that the NFL has done. The NFL is putting all this new pressure. Remember the air quotes I put in, these new rules. Many of these rules aren't new, right? So sometimes things get convoluted and confused. No, the fact of the matter is the rules will be what they were last year. Now, what the NFL is proposing or purporting in so many ways is saying, well, hey, if a breakout happens among unvaccinated players, that team that caused the breakout will lose their revenue. That game will be canceled. But here's the deal. Let's just be real for a second. The NFL made $16 billion last year. That was a projected revenue before the pandemic. do we really think the NFL is about to cancel a game? Do we really think the NFL is going to not reschedule? I mean, come on. Last year in the middle of a pandemic with no vaccine, the NFL found a way to play games. NFL's not about to cancel a game where you're making $16 billion. They'll find a way to reschedule, but all we're seeing now is public pressure. The truth is you'll have the same opportunities and options you had last year. The game's going to be played.
The thing that I would add to that, Acho, is this, is that, one sec, Freddie. I think that the NFLPA, D. Smith, and everyone around, they have to do a better job. To your point, if these are old rules, talk to your players, educate them about what's going on, because what's happening is, from a perceptional standpoint, as a former player, and I think everyone else sees this too, when you see the NFL's mandate come out, then you see the players' instant reaction on social media. Now that's why we're talking about this, because we saw the reaction, we saw the coaches' reaction, we saw everyone. To me, they need to educate the players about what's going on. I think that's where the ball has been dropped. The NFL is doing what they're going to do. Guess what? We're going to play these games regardless. You may not get paid, but we've already got our TV money. Mm-hmm. Okay, these TV deals have been negotiated, so we got our bread. Now, and the NFLPA has to do a better job of educating the players about what's going on to make sure, hey, guys, these aren't new rules. These rules have been there. I think that's where the ball has been dropped, and I think D. Smith and his crew has to do a better job with that.
Well, to your point, Booger and Sam, then the players have to educate themselves as well, because you can have the education, but if you're not receiving that information like you're supposed to, then you're going to have people speaking on social media. For example, Leonard Fournette said he wanted to know more about the vaccine and COVID-19. I said, bro, you had 16, 17 months. What more do you need to know about the vaccine and COVID-19 from that standpoint? It's been all over the news. So unless you've been under a rock for 17 months, you got enough information when it comes to this. But also think about this, guys. Can you imagine if the coaches had a union? What kind of conversation we would be having? Because at least the players have the NFL Players Association. So the union's going to stand behind them as best they can. Can you imagine the coaches in the NFL had a union? This would be a whole different conversation, because I guarantee you there are plenty of coaches, not just the two that got dismissed from Minnesota and New England, but there are plenty of other coaches that are only taking the vaccine because they've been ordered to do it by the National Football League. And the two guys that didn't want to do it are now no longer having jobs in the NFL. Can you imagine what this conversation would sound like, Booger and Sam, if the coaches had a union? It would be all you know what going on in the National Football League, because if the players don't want to do it, we know how stubborn coaches are if they don't want to do something. So if you're trying to force coaches to do something, I can't even imagine what this narrative would sound like if the coach had a union like the National Football League and the Players Association have theirs.
Absolutely. We'll leave it on that note, fellas. Still to come here on First Take, as Dak Prescott returns to full strength. Should the Cowboys consider holding him out of preseason? And should we expect the Cowboys to win the division title? Plus, we mentioned it earlier, Deshaun Watson discussion still to come. Will his return distract the Texans locker room? And will he be per two league executives? Freddie, I want to start with you on this. Is Watson showing up a distraction to this team considering all the allegations?
No, because they've been the Houston distractions since they had that lead against the Kansas City Chiefs. So this is just another latest involving what I believe is the worst run organization in professional sports, and not just in the National Football League. And it didn't seem like it was that long ago that this team was a playoff football team, and everything has unraveled on and off the football field. So no, he's not a distraction, because this has been nothing but a distraction franchise, a disorganized franchise ever since they had that 24-0 lead in the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional playoff round in the AFC in the 2019 season. So this just adds to the latest involving this organization that just can't seem to get it together. And I pity poor David Culley in this situation, because he has waited a long time for an NFL coaching job. He finally gets to be an NFL head coach, and this is the team, this is the organization that he's a part of. Now, he took the job because he wanted to, and I don't blame him. But come on now, a distraction? This is just the latest in distractions regarding that organization, as bad as the Houston Texans have been.
Yeah, if anything's a distraction to this team, it's trading DeAndre Hopkins, your star wide receiver. That's a distraction to the team. It's having your owner in 2017, Bob McNair, refer to the social justice conversation as inmates running the prison. That's a distraction to the team. It's firing Bill O'Brien 4 games into naming him your general manager as well as head coach. That's a distraction to the team. It's hiring a search firm and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to find a new GM just to cast that all aside and to pick your guy. That's a distraction to the team. Deshaun Watson showing up to training camp is not a distraction to the team. Cal McNair, the one who's running the team, he's the distraction to the team. And so, no, Deshaun Watson showing up is not a distraction. He's showing up. So what did Marshawn Lynch say a couple years ago? I'm just here so I don't get fined. He's showing up so he doesn't get fined. J.J. Watt is gone. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins is gone. We talked about Kenny Stills, Will Fuller. The list goes on and on. All their great players are gone, and Deshaun Watson wants to be gone. So it's not a distraction by any means, Deshaun Watson showing up to training camp.
Well, I'm not sure which English dictionary you guys read. You know, last time I looked at Webster's and understood what a distraction was, yes, this is a classic distraction. It's a guy that's going to show up, and his attention or his presence is going to take someone's focus off of what they should or should not be doing. Either way, because Deshaun Watson, let's understand what it is. Regardless of how you think his situation has played out, he has asked the organization, hey, can you trade me? I do not want to be here. He's talked to David Culley. I do not want to play for you. Nothing against you, coach. I know you're a great man. Hopefully you're going to be a great coach. I don't want to play for you. Secondly, he has 22 lawsuits, civil lawsuits pending against him. So anywhere he walks, not only in the Houston Texans facility, anywhere he goes, he is going to garner eyeballs. He's going to garner attention. People are going to look at him. People are going to whisper. People are going to answer questions. Even if he doesn't show up on the practice field, the media is going to wonder where he's in the building. Where is he at? What's going on? The definition of a distraction is when I'm taking the attention or the focus off of what it should be on. Something is distracting you. Something has your attention. Deshaun Watson is going to do that whether we like it or not, guys. I hope they trade him. I think he deserves to be traded. He is one of the bright young stars in the National Football League. From a football standpoint, off the field, I have no idea what went on. I'm not trying to play a detective or a lawyer on television. I'm not even going to go down that road. I just know as a football player, he's a top 5 quarterback in football. He's one of the bright young stars we've seen in a long time. And in a league, when we talk about a quarterback that can be as vital as a threat as a passer, as he can as a runner, is there a better combination in this league of passing and running than Deshaun Watson? So yes, his presence is going to distract you for a lot of different reasons. And it's also distracting other teams. Okay. Denver and Miami are also looking down into Houston and seeing what's going on too. So it's not just a distraction in the organization. It's a distraction around the entire sports world, mainly the National Football League.
Yeah, let's just be clear. Hold on. Let me just say this really quickly, because these allegations are very serious when we're talking about sexual assault in 22 different women. So if these are true, we will not even be having these conversations. I just want to make that clear to everyone at home. And he shouldn't even be on the football field. Go ahead, Freddie.
Yeah, here's the deal with that, Molly. But to your point, he would be a distraction whether he was not there. If he decided to show up at training camp or not, he was still going to be a distraction because everybody would be talking about Deshaun Watson. That's why I said that this is not a distraction, because it's a constant distraction no matter whether he was going to be there or not going to be there. And I don't want to say anything in terms of the Houston Texans brought this on themselves, whatever like that. We still don't have a resolution, Molly, to your point about the civil lawsuits that are out there against Deshaun Watson, although it got quiet really quickly. So we don't know what kind of settlement could be out there, whatever that's going to be. We don't know what that crystal ball is going to say. But this has been a constant distraction, whether he's going to show up there or not show up there, mainly because this situation has still not been resolved involving whatever actions are applied to him off the football field.
Yeah, and I'll just
Booker, I got to give you some credit. I got to give Booker some credit. I looked up distraction myself, and it says a noun, a thing that prevents someone from giving full attention to something else. And so, yes, according to your Webster's Merriam definition, it is a distraction, but to the team that's already distracted by so much else. The team is distracted by everything else. It's definitely a distraction. And yes, these allegations, let's be real, they are very serious. There's so much that we don't know. And so we're talking about on the football field, but off the football field, there are serious allegations that no one knows what's going to happen with those.
Absolutely. And apparently if a trade happens again, Chris Mortensen saying 5 high draft picks are starting players. All right, Cowboys have some big questions entering the 2021 season. Will the defense improve after ranking 28th in the league in points allowed per game last year? How will Ezekiel Elliott do? Zeke is coming off a season where he posted career lows in rushing yards and yards per rush as he enters his 6th season with the Cowboys. And how will Dak Prescott bounce back from his injury? Prescott suffered a dislocated and fractured ankle last year that forced him to miss the final 11 games of the season. Here's Dak on playing in the preseason.
I definitely want to play. As far as giving you a number or a quantity of how much I need to, I just want to obviously get back out there, get some reps before it's real. Just to have a live defense coming at me. Hopefully not take too many licks because I've got great protection, but that's part of the game, and I think that would be great to obviously get up from that, wipe it off, and just be another process, I said, of bearing the injury, obviously. And I think it will be huge.
Acho, should Dak play in the preseason?
Y'all see my head shaking like this? Dak, do not play in that preseason. Let me tell y'all a quick story. August 27th. 2017, Cameron Meredith, Chicago Bears. He was an up-and-coming future superstar wide receiver, and he tears his MCL in the preseason. You want to know what happens in August? Not real games, preseason games that don't count. Dak, I love your mentality. I love the way you're leading your team. You've come back from injury. I love everything about you. I believe in you. But don't go back out there in the preseason in games that don't count and even risk getting injured. You'll be able to get the kinks out. You'll be able to get better as the season gets on. You can be protected in your practice. And I think your coaches are smart enough not to put you out there as well. But Dak, please don't play in the preseason. You're going to help lead your team to some major victories this year. And the victories do not happen. Trust me, they don't happen in August.
Hey, Dak Prescott, you see my head shaking? Yeah, you should play in the preseason because I'm going to go counter what Sam just said. And believe me, you know this better than I do, Sam and Booger, that injuries can happen. They can happen in practice. They can happen in preseason games. They can happen in regular season games. But if you're Dak Prescott, you're going to be on the pitch count anyway in preseason practice. Just going out there, even for a couple of plays, even for a couple of series, and then just get him out of there. But being out there, just leading his team from a psyche standpoint, not so much his psyche, but his team's psyche, having him out there. We're not saying that Dak Prescott's going to play all 4 games in the preseason or every snap in the preseason. That's not what I'm suggesting. But to just not having played any preseason games after not playing any preseason games last year because of the pandemic. Sam, I hear you, brother, shaking your head like this, but Dak, you should play a couple of preseason games just to get the feel out there of leading your team onto the football field for your psyche, but more importantly for their psyche as well.
You think Dak needs that feeling? So Dak had no preseason last year. You know what he did in his first 4 games? You know how dominant he was?
I know how dominant he was.
Set new records for the Dallas Cowboys.
Sure.
He was on pace to set new records for the Dallas Cowboys, number 1. That's number 1. Number 2, because I believe Dak is probably at the Star right now in Frisco watching this. If you're not at practice, in the training room watching. Dak, I played in the league for 9 years. Trust me, you don't want to be in that preseason. I get that some players who need to prove themselves want to play in the preseason games. But there's a reason, and no disrespect, Freddie, I don't mean that as disrespect. I'm just saying, you don't need it. Dak, you don't need it. There are certain players who do need the preseason. I get it. They want to prove themselves. They want to show what they can do. They want to make the team. They want to make the roster. Dak, you've proven everything you've needed to prove to everyone. And so, yes, I understand you want to get the kinks out. I get it, but there's an extra game. Trust me, there's 17 games this year. You don't need 1, 2, or 3 preseason games. You don't need a drive. You don't need a series. You don't need a snap. Dak Prescott, better yet, not even Dak, because Dak wants to play. The coaches of the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore. Kellen's a homie of mine. We played against him in Boise State, did some award ceremony stuff. Kellen, don't play Dak. Mike McCarthy, don't play Dak. Give your team a chance to go compete.
I like it, Sacho. We reached the name-dropping phase of First Take this morning. Keep dropping them out there, Big Gabe. I love it. As far as Dak Prescott in the preseason, listen, man, no one wants to play in the preseason. Not any player walks in the training camp saying, man, I can't wait till preseason week 2, man. I'm going to show y'all. Nobody wants to do it. But the reason a lot of people do it, especially your stars, is to get your timing and to get your rhythm down. So should Dak play? Probably not, but he needs to get out there and go through 5 or 6 plays, get the adrenaline going. Doesn't mean he's got to drop back and take off running. How about 3 or 4 nice handoffs, maybe a drop back and throw the ball on the 3rd step, just throw a deep ball. Get your rhythm, get your timing. Do not put your quarterback in harm's way. As an offensive coordinator, you can call plays where you know 100% that your quarterback is going to get rid of the ball in less than a second. And so I don't see anything wrong with that because here's the one thing you don't want. You don't want Dak Prescott to go out there week 1 trying to knock the cobwebs off and knock the rust off. You want to make sure he's ready to go. And the only way you do that is he's got to go through that adrenaline, get that body rolling, get ready to get out there, and knowing that the game of football is going to be played. And here's what I mean by that. Football is a physical game that's played that I know that at any moment somebody could hit me upside my head and knock my block off. You can't get that at practice in Oxnard, California. You can't get that in practice anywhere. The only time you're going to get that is when you walk out of there between those white lines and you know it's real football. He's got to feel that adrenaline and feel what that feels like. Even though, as an offensive coordinator, I know I'm going to call plays where he doesn't get hit. As a football player, I still have that mindset that I'm in a real game and it could happen. He needs to feel that.
Booger, let me ask you a quick question. What kind of football player are you? Yes, first-round pick. Yes, dominant. But you play defense. You're getting after the quarterback. What kind of football player am I? Yes, fourth-round pick. I wasn't as dominant as you in so many ways, but I have my 9 years in the league. I play defense. I need to get that hit, that feel. The NFL is protecting quarterbacks for a reason. We all saw what happened last year when Dak got hurt. We all saw what happened. The Cowboys went like this. Everybody was shaking their head like, I don't want to watch these games. Every single one of us saw it. And so, yes, I get it. You know, get ready, put your pads on, all the things. And if you want to compromise, because I understand people love to compromise, the only compromise I'll make is this. Get ready, coaches. Tell him he's going to play. Tell him he's going to do the thing. Tell him to get ready, get his pads on, pregame warm-up routine. First snap, right before you snap the ball. Call timeout. Call timeout. Get that man off the field. Trust me. Trust me. Well, there's no chance. There's no need to risk anything. I give him a quarter in the first game. Give him a half to get the cobwebs out. I'm not tripping. Cowboys will be fine.
They'll be fine, but they'll be a lot better to Booger's point. You have them on a pitch count. I mean, although that'd be pretty funny, like Dak right before the ball gets snapped, he calls a timeout. That would go viral instantly if he decided to do what Sam Acho's thinking that he should do. But, Sam, you're right. He doesn't have a lot to prove. He doesn't have anything to prove. You're right when it comes to Dak Prescott. But this is about Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys trying to find that rhythm in terms of, man, we were in a great rhythm before he got injured last year. We're not asking him to go out there and, okay, we're going to run a RPO in a preseason game. Nobody's going to ask him to do anything like that. If you're Dak Prescott, they ask you to do that, you raise your hand and say, there's no way I'm doing that. But just to be out there from a psyche standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, that's why he should play in the preseason. He should play in the 2 preseason games, 3 at the most, and then that's it. You sit him in the final preseason game. But I think that, to Booger's point, they haven't played game 1 of the NFL regular season, 17 games, and now have preseason action. I do not believe that's a good idea for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas has missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, but Vegas has them as the favorite to win the NFC East, which we know is always up for grabs every season. Last year was a dream season for the Bucs. Tom Brady arrived and led the Bucs to their first Super Bowl win since 2002. The whole gang came back to do it again, but don't expect them to take anything for granted. Here's Bruce Arians and Mike Evans on trying to repeat.
Don't assume anything. You're starting from scratch. That was last year's team. This team, we can't assume that we know anything. We have to go back to the beginning, start all over, listen in the meetings, and learn more from the film we have from last year.
You can't get complacent. You know, we won last year. Today starts a new season. You know, we're the defending champs, but we're not the champs of this season yet. So, you know, we got to keep working and trying to reach that goal again.
All right, Acho, you're a former Buck. Tell me this. What is the most crucial aspect for the Bucs to run it back?
2 words, 1 name, 1 man, Tom Brady, and he has to be healthy. That's the only thing that matters. So I played with the Buccaneers in the 2019 season. I saw they had all the makings of a team that was ready to win. The one thing they were missing was a quarterback. Everyone in the building said it, and everyone in the building knew it. Lastly, everyone in the building got their quarterback, and that's why we saw Tampa Bay go win a Super Bowl. Mind you, I played for Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles back in 2013 and 2014 back in Arizona, when Arizona was a horrible team. We were 5-11 the year before Bruce Arians came. And as soon as he came, we were 10-6, 11-5 playoff team. And so I understand that Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles, Byron Leftwich, he was there as well, will not let this team slide. Tom Brady will not let this team slide. Mike Evans, all these guys who you're talking about, these talented Rob Gronkowski, no one's going to let this team slide. The only thing that will keep Tampa Bay from winning another Super Bowl is if Tom Brady is not healthy, is if he gets injured, because they don't have anybody behind him. And so defense is there, offense there. They're going to be better this year, actually. Special teams is there. Just keep Tom Brady healthy.
Sam, I don't worry about Tom Brady being healthy because no one can touch the quarterback in the National Football League. I mean, Tom Brady could play to his 80 years of age in a wheelchair, just wheel him out there. He'll throw 40 touchdown pass, wheel him back to the sidelines. Nobody's touching the quarterback anyway, especially that quarterback in Tampa Bay when it comes to Tom Brady. So to me, that's not an issue. He's going to be fine. But that Bucs defense, they can play at an elite level, and I think that's the key. This defense kept getting better and better in the playoffs. We saw what they were able to do to Kansas City. I know the offensive line was compromised, and they got to Patrick Mahomes, and they had those interceptions against Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game. I think that defense is going to be even better this year because they got some dudes that can get after the quarterback, they can stop running games, and they got a really underrated secondary. So Tom Brady in that offense, I'm not concerned about him staying healthy because I think Tampa Bay, that running game will be even better than it was last year to reduce that kind of pressure on Tom Brady. But that defense, I think the only defense right now in the NFC better than them is the Los Angeles Rams. And they're not that far away in terms of the Bucs defense being on that level of the Los Angeles Rams. That's, I believe, is the key to them repeating because that defense, if they play like that all year long, Tom Brady won't have to do as much. And when he has to do something, he can still dial it up. But that defense can take over ball games. And I think they're going to do that even better this year than they did last year, especially in the playoffs.
Freddie, you got my head spinning right now, my friend. You said the L.A. Rams defense is better than Tampa Bay. You are tripping. Let me give you a quick reason why. Number one, okay. Brandon Staley, the defensive coordinator who was my defensive coordinator, my outside linebacker coach, he's not there anymore. He's over with the L.A. Chargers, so that defense is going to be dropped off. Number two, Todd Bowles is a certified beast. Todd Bowles is the best defensive coordinator. Him and Vic Fangio, I'd say the two best defensive coordinators in the NFL. So it's not about the defense. The defense is going to be fine. And also, it's not a given that quarterbacks will stay healthy. Look at Russell Wilson. Look at what he's been talking about. The reason why Tom Brady will stay healthy is because they drafted Tristan Wirfs in the first round of last year's draft. They got Ryan Jensen, who's an animal on the inside playing center. They have some pretty good guards as well, Ali Marpet, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not a given that Tom Brady's going to be fine. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to be protected. And if he's not, Tampa Bay will not be in a Super Bowl point blank, period.
Sam,
LA Rams,
Molly and I can play left tackle in the National Football League because they can't touch the quarterback. And everybody knows that, especially Tom Brady.
Molly,
I don't have to worry about blocking you. I don't have to worry about blocking you, Sam. The rules are going to block you. That's how the rules take care of it from that standpoint.
In gym class, I was pretty
Nah,
neat.
Man, they said it's a strike zone. They said it's a strike zone. Not too high, not too
Molly
high.
has great feet. Molly has great feet, great hand technique. She can block and left tackle in the NFL with the rules the way they are.
I got some hands, though. Over the weekend, Tom Brady posted this video of himself playing catch with a jugs machine. Now, we know Tom is accurate, y'all, but this is another level, okay? Let's just marinate on this for a moment. Freddie, is this real?
It looks Photoshopped. I don't want to disparage Captain America. I want to say that it's real, but I'm not really sure. But I tell you what, if you're Tom Brady, you know exactly how to have fun and make your brand get better and bigger all the time.
Acho, what do you think?
Nah. I'm just seeing this video now. That can't be real. I've experienced jug machines before. Unless he's got like a jug machine 7.0, it can't be real. Those things are spinning so fast. If it gets stuck in there, it's not coming back out. And they might be like, Tom Brady TB12, his little thing. That can't be real. I love the Photoshop. I'm not believing it. I'm not buying it.
All right.
I want to, but I can't.
Tom,
with Sam.
I believe in you, Tom. I believe in you. From that, Entertainment Ratings Reveal Week all across ESPN, and all week we're helping unveil the highly debated player ratings in the popular video game Madden NFL 22. Today we're breaking down the top 10 wide receivers. Take a look at this guest list and the guests that we have coming up. Packers star Davante Adams is the newest member of the 99 Club. DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill are just behind at 98. Stephon Diggs and new Tennessee Titan Julio Jones round out the top five here. And now we bring in a man who needs no introduction. Two-time All-Pro wide receiver and now a Madden NFL ratings adjuster. He wears many hats. We'll get into those. The one and only Chad Johnson. What's going on, Chad? Thank you so much for being with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
All right, Chad, what are your overall thoughts on how the number 1, 2, 3 rated wide receivers shook out between Davante Adams, 99, and DeAndre Hopkins, 98?
You know what? You really can't go wrong. It's based on, to me, obviously the top three is based on personal preference, on who you like And either way, it's interchangeable. But right now, Davante is a man at the top spot. Rightfully so, as long as you've been watching football. And it's about time we paid him his due diligence and his craftsmanship on the field.
What is it like being a part of this, Chad? Because someone who's a 6-time Pro Bowler, and you get a chance to be a part of something like this, I'm sure a lot of people are going to debate back and forth. What has it been like being a part of that process, kind of setting the tone for the Madden ratings for wide receiver?
Right. You know what? I like it. I like it, especially for the receiver from a receiver standpoint, because a lot of players have a lot of gripes based on their ratings. They fuss a lot. So with me being in the position as a rating adjuster and doing all the research and watching the film, and watching the film, I can actually critique these individuals. And when they do have a problem, I have the film already prepared. Let me show you why you're 90. Let me show you why you're 89 or 88. And I use, even a PowerPoint presentation for anybody that has a problem with their ratings. I will show you where you are. And the good thing about it is you have every week to improve that rating week to week. So there should be no issue because everything is in your hands.
So, Ocho, you talked about personal preference. You talked about Davante Adams being a 99, which all would agree that's the correct rating. But a lot would agree it might be because of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers may or may not be back in Green Bay. What's your take on what's going on in Green Bay, and also how will that affect Davante Adams' rating?
This is the thing about special players and the top-tier receivers in the NFL. The top-tier receivers in the NFL, your Davante Adams, your Julio Jones, your Tyreek Hills, your Keenan Allen. So these individuals could play on any of the 32 teams and still be productive regardless of where they go, regardless of the quarterback carousel. DeAndre Hopkins proved that when he was with Houston. So those individuals can play without the top-tier quarterback, but having a quarterback, especially as Aaron Rodgers, does help. But the skill set of these receivers are what they are, regardless of who's at the helm at quarterback. As far as Aaron Rodgers goes, I talked to him, and he told me not to relinquish any of the information on what he plans to do. So I can't give that out.
Oh, that's unfortunate that you can't share that conversation with us, because I'm sure you got all the info. Then let's talk about you, Chad, because your boxing debut. Tell me about this, right, against Brian Maxwell. I want the whole deal. Why you decided to do it, what it was like for you. Can we see more of it?
First off, thank you to Floyd Mayweather, who obviously during my tenure playing in the NFL, I used boxing as a way to prepare for every football season, for the cardio reasons and for the footwork reasons. And obviously Floyd understanding that I could box and I would be able to protect myself if need be. And I told Floyd, if I'm going to do this, I don't want a celebrity. Give me someone that fights for a living, being that I have no amateur experience. The only experience I do have with fighting is in the street growing up when I had a problem with somebody privately. I enjoyed it, and there's a saying called "you can't play boxing." So therefore, I was kind of upset that Floyd only gave me 4 weeks of adequate time to prepare for the fight. But based on what I was able to display, I think it was okay for such short notice. And I'd like to thank the Charlo twins. I'm sure y'all are watching. Thank you for beating me up for 3 weeks straight while you guys were in camp. And I think that was one of the reasons I was able to survive outside of getting knocked down, in the fourth round when I gassed out due to me being tired and not having my hands up.
Well, number one, you look like you can still play in the National Football League, so that's number one. Number two, what did you learn about yourself, Chad, getting into boxing? Because we talked about before you came on the air how it's a great exercise and it's great for cardio in your mind. But what did you really learn about doing that whole thing, doing a different discipline when it comes to a different sport?
I think the only reason I was able to do it is the fact that hunger and that drive to compete at something is still there. Boxing is a sport that you can't play. You can't go in there messing around, trying to look cute. I was out of my element. I was scared. I have a huge amount of respect for combat sports, especially the science that is boxing. And a huge shout out to Brian Maxwell, who gave me the opportunity. For one, I don't think people understand how difficult those rounds are. With someone applying pressure or having to dodge punches and just understanding the science that comes with boxing. You think you just get in there and you throw punches, but it's very strategic. And I look forward to doing it again, hopefully before Christmas gets here, against someone else that has either amateur experience or pro experience. Or even, I don't know. I want to fight someone that is really polished at it. It would force me to be at the top of my game that much more.
So, Ocho, I got a different one for you. So you're known for your celebrations, talking about the river dance and the CPR, right? I used to love watching you celebrate. Is there a celebration that you didn't get a chance to do? What would that one celebration that you practiced, you had in your mind, but you didn't get a chance to do? Which one was that one?
Yeah, I talked about this not long ago. Remember, I'm sure everybody remember the Staples commercial and the easy button from the Staples commercial?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We were playing the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe it was 05 or maybe it was 06, and I put the easy button under the north and south end zone goalpost underneath before the game started in pregame warm-up. And I was hoping to score that game and grab the easy button and run to Carson and have him hit it. Obviously, you hit the button and says that was easy. And I think that would have been a really good one. And being that I wasn't able to do it, any NFL players watching this today, this is the great opportunity to make you some money. So you could take this one and use it. And trust me, I'm here.
That's creative. That is a creative one. I'm impressed with that. Let's stay with football for one more second. I want to ask you, do you ever look now and seeing Cincinnati and Joe Burrow and wish you were still playing with them? Having him as your quarterback?
But actually, you know what? My quarterback that I did have in Carson Palmer was really good. He was really good. I think what we did was very magical. We had our ups and downs during that time, and I like being a fan of the game now. I love Joe. I love what Joe's been able to show. Being a rookie last year and being so poised under the circumstances that he had to deal with. T. Higgins, man, doing that 85 justice, man. T, I love you. I know you watching, and I'm excited for Chase. Chase has this aura. He has this it about him that you can't teach, you can't coach. He just got it. So I'm really excited, man. Alden Tate, Tyler Boyd, man, all those dudes, man. I really look forward to see what the Bengals do this year.
Who's your winner in the AFC North this year?
Oh, Bengals, most definitely. It's not even close.
Okay, is that a heart pick or is that a head pick? Chad Johnson.
This is a common sense pick based on what Zach Taylor's been able to do with this team thus far. If we don't win the AFC North, I promise you, I won't eat McDonald's no more.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Chad, always a pleasure. Always a good time. Thank you so much. Tune in all week to SportsCenter, NFL Live, exclusive ratings reveals. Plus, every day here on First Take, we'll be joined by a familiar face. Tomorrow, we've got five-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle. Thanks, Chad. Vince Wilfork joins the show to break down the game's top big guys. It's Madden Ratings Reveal Week all across ESPN. All right, when we come back here on First Take, Texas and Oklahoma, two absolute powerhouse college football institutions. Might they both be on the move to the go? Last week, a story broke that will have major ripple effects throughout the world of college sports. Texas and Oklahoma have been in talks with the SEC about joining the conference. Big 12 sources still expect the Longhorns and Sooners to inform the league that they will not be renewing their media rights agreement when it expires in 2025. League officials met with the presidents of Texas and Oklahoma on Sunday in an effort to salvage their partnerships. Here's a joint statement just released from Texas and OU. Providing notice to the Big 12 at this point is important. In advance of the expiration of the conference's current media rights agreement, the universities tend to honor their existing grant of rights agreement. However, both universities will continue to monitor the rapidly evolving collegiate athletics landscape as they consider how best to position their athletic programs for the future. A lot of jargon right there. All right, let's do this. I am going to start with former LSU Tiger Booger McFarland. Booger, can Texas and Oklahoma compete in the SEC?
Well, absolutely, they can compete in the SEC. I think they're just going to make the conference that is already the best conference in America even stronger. I think this is really, really good for Oklahoma more than it is good for Texas. I think Oklahoma has been trying to make inroads as far as the SEC-type talent, especially on defense, for years. I think when they can walk into a recruit's home and their claim to fame is now, hey, not only can you compete in the SEC, you can compete against them. We need you to come to our school. So I think their defense will be better. They've been trying to upgrade that for years. And Texas, I know Sacho doesn't want to hear this. Texas has always claimed that everything is bigger and better in Texas. Well, I haven't been able to see that since Vince Young left. So hopefully now, them joining the SEC, they will be able to prove that, yes, things are bigger, things are better. But can they compete, to answer your original question, Molly? Absolutely. I think this is only going to enhance them. But this is even leading to a bigger issue, and I think we talked about this before. This is going to ultimately lead to the dissolvement of the NCAA. And I think that's the biggest thing that's going to come from all this eventually when we get to it, whether it's 2025 or not.
Booger, I'm really glad that you took your shot, considering y'all won y'all's little national championship back in 2019. I played after Vince Young left at the University of Texas, and we
got
went to the
three,
national championship.
We got three now.
And played Alabama, and we have more. And played Alabama in that national championship in the 2009 game. And so I was there back when the Big 12 was really competing against the SEC, and we saw it really was a different league. It's just been announced that Texas and Oklahoma have both agreed that they will not renew their media rights for the 2025 season. Obviously, they're probably going to leave earlier than that. And so the thing about Texas, once again, Booger, to respond to your phenomenal point, everything is, in fact, bigger in Texas. Look at revenues. The top two grossing teams when it comes to revenue, it's Texas and college football. It's Texas and Texas A&M. I don't care if you're in the SEC, ACC, AAC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12. I don't care what you're in. Everything is, in fact, bigger in Texas. And granted, it's coming from a Texan here. But to answer the second question, Molly's question, Texas will be able, and Oklahoma will both be able to compete in the SEC. Oklahoma has won the last 6 Big 12 championships. So, yes, they can compete. I understand that they have not won a playoff game in college football. I get it. But once again, going back to recruiting, now Steve Sarkisian and Lincoln Riley, they can walk into recruits' houses and say, hey, yes, you're competing in the SEC, but you get to stay at home. Your family gets to come and watch you at Texas. You don't have to go somewhere far away, number one. And number two, let's not forget Nick Saban's massive flex when he said that his quarterback, who's a sophomore who hasn't played, he's talking to Texas high school coaches, he said that he's already reached $1 million, almost $1 million when it comes to NIL. So now every Texas coach and every Oklahoma coach, Lincoln Riley, Steve Sarkisian, and onwards, can now say the same thing if, in fact, Texas and Oklahoma do join the SEC, which we all believe they will.
Oh, this is not an if thing. I said last week when the report came out, I said, they gone. Because you don't put it out there to say, we're thinking about leaving. No, when you say Texas, Oklahoma, this is like the blue and the gray coming together in the Civil War and announcing the détente. When Texas, Oklahoma joining forces to leave a conference that they helped found when it comes to the Big 12. So there's no if there, Sam. They're completely out of there. But in terms of competition and competing, that word, it's a different definition because if you're Texas and Oklahoma, you're not just going to SEC to compete. You're going there to win. At least you believe you're going there to win. And the SEC is like, look, you're not coming to our league thinking you're going to be near the top from the jump. It's going to take a little bit because that's how great that conference is, and not just in football. Think about it in basketball. Think about it in baseball, what the SEC has been able to represent. So Oklahoma and Texas, they know that going to the premier conference to show they are the best of the best is not just about competing. It's about winning championships. I think right now Oklahoma's better suited to do that than Texas. We'll see what Texas will be able to do because, Sam, you're right. That is a recruiting-rich state when it comes to football. But now if you're Texas, you got to worry about other SEC schools coming into your house and taking those kids from your house and having them play in other places. That's the last thing you want if you're Texas, where you go to the SEC and those 5-star recruits are looking at Oklahoma and other SEC schools and not looking at you. So that's something they have to worry about. But there's no doubt about it. This is a move in a matter of weeks. They are completely leaving the Big 12. Now the bigger question is, what is the Big 12 going to look like? That's going to even be a conference in 5 to 8 years once Texas and Oklahoma make their way out, and they won't be the last defections out of the Big 12, in my opinion.
Well, Freddie, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the SEC has been raiding the state of Texas for the last several years. Look at what Alabama and LSU and Georgia, they go into Texas religiously and get the best players out of that state. Now, I do think this will help Texas keep those players because now they can say, hey, we're playing the SEC. Why would you leave Texas to go to Alabama when you can play in the same conference here in your own state? I just think in the end, when this is all said and done, this is not about the competition on the field. Like, that's for us to discuss. That's for all the pundits to discuss. And we can talk about, hey, can we compete? This is about the presidents, the athletic directors saying, okay, where's the money? Let's follow the money. We don't want to get left out. Nebraska maybe had a little foresight a few years ago when they left and went to the Big Ten. Now they're getting their head beat in on the field, but they're getting a check for $40 to $50 million a year. So they're funding a lot of things. We can leave the athletic ability, the competition, can they compete? That's for the coaches and the players. But the ADs and the presidents, oh, yeah, they about to get rich right now. And I think Nebraska has done it in the Big Ten, and Texas and Oklahoma will do it in the SEC. And as far as the Big 12, guys, I don't think any of us honestly can sit here and say that 5 years from now the Big 12 is going to still be alive. I don't think it'll be in existence. I think it'll be gone. Yeah. And I think college football will be better off when we have 3 to 4 super conferences, 16 to 18 teams, and the NCAA will be no more.
Booger, we would not be having this conversation if there was a Big 12 network. I guarantee we would not be having this conversation because that's been the big thing. The SEC, they have their network. Big Ten, they have their network. Pac-12 has their network, and the ACC has their network. If there was a Big 12 network along those lines, we're not having this conversation because they're getting those checks. That's why Rutgers is in the Big Ten. That's why Notre Dame can just stand apart. They're their own conference. But there was a Big 12 network. I don't believe we're having this conversation about Texas and Oklahoma leaving to go get more money, which they're going to get in the SEC.
Hey, Booger, this one is for you. There's not a Big 12 network, but there is a Longhorn network. I don't know about no LSU Tiger network. So everything is, in fact, bigger.
Wow. Wow.
The Longhorn Network is ran by ESPN. I know that. And it's so profitable for you and us that you guys are coming to join the SEC network. So it's almost like the little sister and the little brother coming home to where mom and daddy are. Come on home, baby. Come on home.
I think Texas just wants to make y'all better. Texas just wants to make y'all better. We could go on and on and on. But, Molly, I'll let you go ahead and do what you got to do.
No, Boog, thanks for being with us, holding us down here and on Get Up all morning long. Go stretch your legs. Go get something to eat for lunch. You boys still with me. Moving to the NFL, Kansas City is once again the favorite to win the AFC for the third straight season. Buffalo and Baltimore are right behind, while the Browns come in at fourth, making the playoffs for the first time after a 17-year drought. Here's Odell Beckham Jr. on his outlook for the Browns this season.
It's just something that feels special about this team, something that feels special with the city. Especially watching the Bucs win a championship, inspires you even more. It's like Cleveland needs a championship, and I think that's the goal, that's the mentality in that building, and that's what I want to be a part of.
I like Odell's hair. Haven't seen him in a minute. Odell wants to be a part of something special in Cleveland. Freddie, are the Browns the team best suited to beat the Chiefs in the AFC?
No, I still think it's the Buffalo Bills because I wonder if the Browns can handle being the hunted, because 2 years ago when they got all that hype, they did not handle it well. Now, I think they'll be better equipped to handle it now because Kevin Stefanski, their head coach, has done a great job, and they've been able to have the right kind of mix of veteran leadership, and those guys have grown up from 2 years ago. But this Buffalo Bills team, they got a bunch of dudes on defense that just get after the quarterback. They have an underrated secondary. I know that Josh Allen gets a lot of credit, but the wide receiver is terrific. They bring in Emmanuel Sanders to help out this football team. So Cleveland is terrific. I think Cleveland is going to be a terrific team. That's a potential 11 to 12 win team. But in terms of being the best chance to beat Kansas City, I'm going to trust it's the Buffalo Bills because they're tough, they're physical, they're relentless. That's not to say that the Browns are not, but I just think having that experience of dealing with being the hunted in the AFC, when people said this is supposed to be your division, then they went out there and won it, and then they gave Kansas City more than a holy you-know-what in the first half of the AFC Championship game. I trust that that team can handle being the hunted a little bit better than Cleveland this year and stands the best chance to beat the Chiefs in the AFC.
I mean, have we just forgot completely about the Tennessee Titans? I mean, maybe some of us need to be stiff-armed by Derrick Henry again. Maybe some of us need to go try and sack Ryan Tannehill. Maybe some of us need to go try and cover Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. Have we completely forgot about the Tennessee Titans, who have built a beast out in the AFC? Yes, I like the Cleveland Browns. No, I don't think they're the hunter just yet. I think Pittsburgh and Baltimore may have something to say about that. But Tennessee is still Tennessee, and Derrick Henry is still doing Derrick Henry things. Have we forgot about the Tennessee Titans? I think the Tennessee Titans are the team that's best seated to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. Hands down, no questions asked.
Well, here's the deal with that. And you're right about Derrick Henry because he's going to help your defense and help your quarterback. And we've seen Ryan Tannehill, what he's been able to do getting away from Adam Gase, the kind of efficient quarterback that he can be in that offense. I just wonder if Tennessee can get enough defensive stops in key situations. I trust that Buffalo's defense can do that. I trust that the Browns defense right now can do that better than Tennessee Titans defense. I wanted the Tennessee Titans because we can see they can win firefights, but once in a while you got to have that key stop. You got to get that third and get off the field and get the ball back to your offense. That's the biggest question to me, Sam, that I have about the Titans defense. I trust the Browns defense a little bit can do that, and I know the Bills defense can do that because I've seen that. Can Tennessee do that? I'll wait and see on that one.
Well, Freddie, I'm with you. So I played in Buffalo for the preseason in 2019 before I went to Tampa. So I've been in that defense. And Leslie Frazier is a phenomenal defensive coordinator. That defense hunts. That defense can eat. But that defense at times has had some weak points. And so I trust Cleveland's defense, who's building on already a great defense by drafting a guy like Greg Newsome from Northwestern. I like Cleveland's defense more than I like Buffalo's defense. Those we're talking about really apples to apples, two top-tier defenses. But Tennessee, when it comes to trying to compete with Kansas City, you got to think about it. They're building a different animal. Like in basketball, people always talk about small ball. And I go back to the USA versus France. France wasn't playing small ball. They had some beasts. Everybody on their team, 6'1", 7'1", 6'8", 6'10". You look at those players. Tennessee is doing something similar. Everyone's looking for the Tyreek Hills, the speedsters, the Darnell Mooney's like you see in Chicago. Tennessee says, no, I'm going to get a 6'3", 250-something pound running back. No, I'm going to get a big physical quarterback. I'm going to get a 6'3", 200-something pound wide receiver. Not just one, let me get two. And so Tennessee is the team that's best suited to beat Kansas City because they're building a different kind of animal in the AFC.
Listen, Acho, you're showing a lot of love to Team France. I mean, well, how about Team Nigeria? Aren't there like 9 NBA players? Show some love for your people.
I'm telling you, man.
Where are the roots?
Bump Team France. I'm still on Team Nigeria. Samuel is my first name, but Onyedi Kachi is my middle name. So we got foreign people, not only in the NBA, NFL, but also on TV. Shout out to my Nigerian brothers and sisters.
All right, let me ask you guys this. I want to get to Bradley Beal and a potential trade. Which team should trade for Bradley Beal right now, Freddie?
The New York Knicks, because they need a shooter. And I know R.J. Barrett is good, and he had a better season than his rookie season, but a difference maker in Bradley Beal, you put him on that basketball team, you draft the point guard in the upcoming draft this Thursday, and you put them with Julius Randle and have Derrick Rose off the bench. Bradley Beal is that kind of difference maker. He would make the Knicks an instant better contender in the Eastern Conference because his ability to shoot the basketball from the outside.
Yeah, I don't think Bradley Beal wants to be a contender. I think Bradley Beal wants to win a championship, and I think Bradley Beal needs to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously, you've got LeBron James, and you've got AD, as Magic Johnson says. AD's on the way. You got LeBron, you got AD. Kuzma has not been what anyone has hoped that he would be. And so now if you get a Bradley Beal on that team, you're winning championship after championship after championship. Yes, it's a super team, but you're getting a championship, and that's all that matters.
Freddie, if you're Beal, where would you want to go?
Well, if I'm Bradley Beal, where I would want to go would be Los Angeles, to his point. But if I'm Bradley Beal, I think the better path to get to a championship is in the Eastern Conference because the West is still loaded. Not the East is better, but his chance of getting to the NBA Finals is a lot better in the Eastern Conference than in the loaded Western Conference.
Okay, I'll leave you with this.
Yeah, if I'm Bradley Beal, I actually want to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd want to stay in Washington. You just saw Giannis go. You saw Giannis go and win a championship, homegrown. You saw him not build a super team. I'd rather stay in Washington if I'm Bradley Beal.
All right, fair enough. For Freddie Coleman and Sam Acho, I'm Molly Karam Rose. Thank you all for being with us. We will do it again tomorrow, same time.